All right, Artem, we are live, my
Hi,
friend.
Gary. Nice. Hello, everybody.
How was the Ukraine today? Anything good happen?
It was warm.
Oh, it was warm today.
Yeah.
The snow is melting,
And
the seasons are changing.
yeah, looks like spring coming.
Beautiful, beautiful. Um, so, yeah, man. Um,
Let me go and share it.
yeah, do your Facebook thing. You better come
Yeah,
back, though.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm keep listening.
Okay. Um, I just wanted to personally thank everybody for your messages and your shares and your gestures of kindness because I really, really feed off of that. The whole purpose of Artem and I doing this is because we care
I'm
about
back.
dogs' lives and we want the lives to be better. So when we get those messages saying like, "Hey, you what you said today made me appreciate my dog in a different way. It made me, want to be with my dog in a different way." That means a lot to me, and I know it does to you too, Artem. So I appreciate all of
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much. Those messages are just wonderful. So I wanted to open up. Last week we talked about some things people could do right away, really stop doing mostly. And I wanted to just see how everybody did with the 24-hour challenge. If people felt different, if they noticed anything different with their dogs. Is that something you do with your clients, Artem? Have you ever done that before with them?
You mean 24 hours challenge?
Yeah.
Before consultation. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
people calling me, I want to meet you, and I have only dates like after a few weeks. So I'm telling them do this and do that.
Yeah. Because the
And
one th-
actually stop doing this, stop doing that.
Yeah, because the one thing I notice a lot with my clients too after is they notice it in other people. They'll start, when they become more accountable with what they're doing with their dogs, they also notice it in their friends and family who are having behavior problems with their dogs. They're like,
Hmm.
"Whoa, they really touched their dog a lot," or they see these little pieces. So, yeah, I feel like,
Yeah, it's like I smoked for 15 years, and only when you quit, you start feeling like everybody's smoking it, and this is not actually good smell.
yeah.
Smells not good. Only when you stop doing this.
Yeah. So if you noticed anything, drop a comment in for us. Let us know. I mean, did you notice? I don't even want to say what you noticed because I hear what people say a lot, but I just want to see. I mean, did you catch yourself? Because there's two things. For me, you're going to notice a big difference in yourself because every time you're going to like touch the dog and you're going to be like, "Oh, wait a second.
Hmm.
Oh, wait, hold on." And then you saw it pull back and you see the dog kind of get confused. Then the talking also, same thing. You might, if you're aware of it, you'll catch yourself. And then also the dog's behavior because they start to not have all these extra stimulants in their life.
Yep.
So they start to change their behaviors as well. So hopefully people will have some comments and questions about that. And while we're doing that, the first thing I wanted to just talk about real quick, Artem, some of the things we're talking about are very different. People are already doing what they're doing, whatever that is, but they have a problem. So I had a couple people email me and message me some from Canada, some from the United States, and they were basically, I get what they're saying, and I'll just hit you with it. Is they need something right now to do while they're having their problem. And so we're asking them to not do certain things. Ask their dog to sit, ask their dog to lay down, to walk the dog next to them, behind you instead of next to them. One of the things I think that's tricky about that is they want their problem to go away, but they want to continue to do the same thing because it's what they know. So I don't know if you had any, I mean, if you fully understand what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
want something actionable now. So I just figured I'd kind of hit you with that. If there's anything that you want to say to those folks out there who feel like they need to go back to what they're doing because it's the only thing they have, but at the same time, it's not working.
Uh, Ask me question. It will be better for me to start.
Yeah. So my dog pulls on the leash.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is every time he does that, I'm, trying to get his attention and then giving him food, right? And you're telling me not to do that anymore, but I still have my problem. People want to know, well, what do I do then? And what I feel like they're doing is trying to fill that gap of, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what quite to do because I don't know what to tell you to do because I don't know your dog, but yet what I'm doing isn't working. So they
Mm-hmm.
have this piece that they're living in of, I don't know what to do, but I know what I'm doing isn't working, but it's the only skill I have right now.
Uh, it's what I'm always explaining to people is that we need to understand the root of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and to do will be way easier uh, for you when you will understand the root, and mostly root is how you living with your dog. So it's happening like simult- in a one moment, simultaneously, yeah,
Yeah.
in English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, happening in one moment. You should work on the root, and it's always like uh, I have some type of saying about it, like whole behavioral problems of the dogs exist in a human's head. So this is where we should start working first, and then to do will be not hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're trying to,
Because if you know what's happening, why you have the problem, um, to it will be way easier to work on the problem. Actually, I'm talking about to do part,
yeah,
and not to be frustrated if something not happening like this.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a common thing is people think that they're stopping the problem as it's happening, but really the problem is existing because of not at that moment. It's because of the other moments that are happening.
Like you talk about it in Instagram stories few days ago about eating. If I'm having weight, it's not about doing something with it right now. It's all my
Accumulation.
accumulation, what I'm eating
Yeah. Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah. And ultimately, this is the part that I think is hard for people is you got to get a professional. I mean, so many people think that they're able to figure this out. They read something and they intellectualize it, and it's like, well, okay, well then I know what to do. But you didn't know what to do in the first place. If you knew what to do, then you would have done it. So I don't always feel like it's that simple of I just do a couple things and it changes. Like sometimes you need professionals. That's why we're out here. It's because you need an out. Some of the dogs aren't just as easy as you know doing a couple little things to get them to stop jumping. Sometimes it is a little bit of a bigger problem, and you need different stages to go through. So I don't, don't want people to discount that. This isn't something that's like supposed to replace that. This is a conversation that is just trying to get people to think differently. Now, the professional you hire, I would like for them to be on a similar page because from our experience, that's what works. But it's hard. It's hard if that's your only skill to give it up. So yeah, no, it's a good point, Artem. It's not in that moment when your dog's doing it. It's earlier. It's yesterday that's really causing the
Yeah,
problem.
and the in general, The problem is that we do not understand dogs. We think that we do, but we do not understand them. If we have problem, especially serious behavioral problem, separation anxiety, aggression, that automatically means that we have like a big hole in understanding what's actually who they actually are and what they actually need and what actually happening when we having this and that in daily basis, not in that moment when the dog is lunging or whining and trying to ruin the door through which one you disappeared. So if we have, this is what we need to understand and accept, that we don't have understanding. Like I'm driving only 1 month, so I'm still practicing. And when I have problems on the road, that means that I don't have knowledge and practice.
Yeah.
It's not about something wrong with traffic.
It's that
Mostly.
mostly depends on where you're driving.
Yeah.
That Sadhguru talk where the guy has a problem. He has cuts on his face, but he's intoxicated, so he puts all the band-aids on the mirror, right, thinking that he's fixing himself. It's when I have the problem, I can't look for the solution to be outside. The solution has to start with me. If somebody's acting a certain way, then I have to look at myself and say, how I'm handling that. So, yeah, I mean, it's very, very powerful. That leads exactly what we're going to talk about today. I mean, we talked for a while last time. We keep trying to make these things shorter, but they keep getting longer, which is fine. But you asked that question of not really understanding our dogs, and I think that's a powerful question of why did you get your dog in the first place?
Yes.
What's your experience with that with people? I mean, is that something you talk about in your consultations?
Yeah. I'm asking that question almost always.
Yeah.
Uh, the main answer is like I wanted to have a friend around me.
Hmm.
And then if I ask him more questions, that friendship uh, from the owner perspective should looks like only nice and fancy, and it's only pleasure component in it. A little bit responsibility. Most people know that they should feed the dog, take care of the house, and uh, most people walk dogs, but not all people. Uh, but the most reason people want to have pleasant relationships, and it's already far from reality because life is not always pleasant. It's have all components. Same with dogs, but the thing is that they way different species. So we need to figure out, if we call them friends, we need to figure out how to make that friend happy around us.
Yeah.
So it's friendship. It's not only like fulfilling my needs. Like I guess most of us who watching it right now and will be watching it later, we experience that with people. We have somebody who is around us only to fulfill their his needs and not taking care about ourselves. Yeah, about us.
Yeah. When I'm
It's not a friendship. So if you're taking a friend, we need to know, and this is where for I think this is where a problem begins. It's we having that illusion before we even bring the dog at home.
So in America, that word is called expectation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
before the
We
dog
we
even,
also have that word.
yeah. So before the dog even comes into your life, you're going with an expectation of what they're supposed to be,
Yeah,
and that is not fair.
yeah.
I've learned in Buddhism having expectations is actually a form of passive aggressiveness. So
Mm.
if you have an expectation for somebody, it's usually something you identify within yourself. And there was a story of a woman who was a famous Buddhist monk, and she was working with somebody that had an addiction problem. And when the person was doing really well, it was great. And when the person fell off the wagon, she went to talk to her guru or whoever that person was, and he said, "How does that affect you?" And she says, "Well, we were doing so good." And he said, "Well, that's an expectation that you had. That's a form of aggressiveness. Instead of instead of just being okay with what it is. It really has nothing to do with you if you're doing the best that you can." So, that kind of gets into a lot of what I see is, you know, dogs are replacement relationships,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're my kids went to school, my wife travels a lot, my just broke up with my whoever, and and I'm looking for this thing to replace something else. And
This is actually why we took Camila. I've been working a lot, and Angelica worked at home, and she needed somebody. One of the reasons, not the main, but one of
yeah, yeah,
around her.
yeah. And I always tell people, you don't get a dog because you want to walk a lot. You get a dog because
Hmm.
you already walk a lot. And that to me is a huge piece of before you get a dog. I mean, I wrote a whole ebook on my website about it, about before you get a dog. Like, what's the purpose? What's driving me to get this dog? And that shouldn't be just like, oh, I want to save a life, or I mean, that's all part of it. But how you start the relationship is how it's going to continue. So if I'm driving a fancy car and my wife sees that, and that's the only thing, what if I lose all my money?
Yeah,
I mean, her expectation is to have this comfortable life and blah blah blah. And you were going to say something.
yeah, and we actually start that relationships with the dog um, from how to say. Usually, we are very emotional and excited about it,
Yes.
and this is what continues. We are too emotional about the dog and too excited,
Hmm.
and this is what continues and actually cause many problems in the future.
Yeah. And that's the part I feel like, what we're trying to talk about here is your dog has no idea about your expectations. Your
And
dog,
plans,
yeah,
yeah.
he or she has no idea of those things, nor probably interest in them, right? I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like one of the things I've learned a lot in my spiritual journey and things is, a dog, a lion, an ant only wants to be an ant. Humans are the only ones that try to expand, right? We're the only animals that have all of our needs fulfilled, and we still have 1,000 problems. My dog has a full belly and gets the basics of what they need, and they're happy. I mean, they don't need any more. And, I think that's, a very interesting piece of the expectation of what we're looking for. Look, I got this dog. And, then we join these, specific groups of this type of dog, or, it just becomes the story, basically. Let me see.
We have comments.
Yeah, just Allison was talking about the 24-hour challenge got extended. She said she didn't touch her dogs for days and days, and her boyfriend and herself are much happier because we pay attention to each other. I told that story. I told that story recently where I was out to dinner with a client. It's a cattle dog. It's on my stories a lot, and the woman must have said it to me 50 times. Like, when am I allowed to pet her? When am I allowed to pet her? And I turned to her boyfriend and I said, when's the last time you had a back rub? And he started cracking up. So I'm like, Abby didn't get adopted by you to have her head scratched all day. She didn't care. She does not care. I mean, does it feel good because it's there? Yeah, of course. but it wasn't her main purpose to wake up every day for you to scratch her head. Um, so I always ask for, I always look into relationships because this is, it's not just dog training. Like there is these other pieces of, you know, that's not even your species, and you're trying to have a more intense relationship with that than what is you. Somebody that fully understands you. So good for you, Allison. And then Alicia's talking about we have a small piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding dogs. Dogs never stop learning and observing us. That is really sure. They do. They really try to understand behavior. One of the articles I was reading last night about dominance and hierarchy and things like that, they were talking about how complicated or behavior in animals in general is to understand because it's momentary. It's always changing. It's just so fascinating. It's not something you just like pick up a book and read a little bit about. It's a start, but yeah. What else? Anything else about that why part of the relationship? Anything else that you've experienced that can potentially help people, maybe even people that are looking to get a dog or trying to understand where they are now and why they have those problems? So I'll just share a quick little story real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So one time Brandon was doing a consultation and he asked this woman, it was one of the first moments that, like, I mean, the guy's just a genius, but he asked the woman, he said, well, when did you get this dog? And that why question. And she was saying like, oh, I had an illness and, I needed the dog to stay with me and do all these things. And the dog was biting her. And he said, well, that's why your dog bites you. And she's like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you got him to take care of you. And he's taking care of you. And part of taking care of their pack is disciplining, which is biting them. So if you do something they don't like, that's how your relationship started, was your dog was supposed to take care of you. Now, the things that they do to take care of you aren't always helpful. Keeping, your boyfriend out of bed, keeping the mailman away from the front door, those things aren't helpful anymore. But if that's the reason why you got your dog, that's the emotion that they're continually living in.
Yep.
Have you ever met a dog that came out of the shelter that wanted to be a kid, a replacement kid? It's a sarcastic question. Did you ever see a dog that came out of the shelter with a new owner and said, I want to replace your kid. I'd love to be your girlfriend that just broke up with you.
Oh yeah.
No? Never happened?
Or the same. No.
Yeah. They just
Or I want to be your friend, but you will only fulfill your needs.
So
Let's have that friendship happen.
yeah. So I mean, what to you, in your experience, is fulfilling your dog? I mean, what is their
The first thing is to figure out what they really need, because we all have that illusion about what they need. And usually, when I'm coming home, I'm seeing that the dog have a lot of things in the human terms, yeah, how human see this, but they not even walk 2 hours, like 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. Like, okay, so the dog is living inside a box, I mean, flat or house, 22, more than 22 or maybe up to 23 hours per day, and they designed to be travelers. So things like that. So to understand and accept what they really need, and this is not what we thinking. This is not what movie tells us that dogs need. This is not what most of the books and articles on internet telling that our dogs need. It's not about things that pet stores selling. It's not. This is not all of that things, and it's easy to check. Again, this is something what exists, existed, existing, and will exist even without us, without anybody. So, and the good example is homeless dogs who are okay physically, not abused by
Mm-hmm.
humans, and they just having all of that fun. They have place to live. They have uh, places where they um, finding food. They have pack. They have relationships. They have they travel. They have physical activity. They were using their brains so a lot. They think.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to go in a wood to see how these things working. I guess I don't know. I know that in LA a lot of stray dogs. I don't know how things are going in other USA cities and towns, but at least right now all of us have YouTube and we can go there and just watch
Yeah.
many videos how people uploading many videos how those dogs living. And it's basically it's very simple things because what they all about, no matter where they live, it's all about survival.
Yeah. Well, the things that I think most people, the things that what a dog really needs aren't monetizable. So that's why
Yeah.
they're not put out as much. I mean, PetSmart would make $7 billion a year if we just did what dogs needed, right? My dog doesn't need a special cupcake because he got his nails clipped.
Like uh, you know what I'm going to talk about right now. Those dogs from Tajikistan,
Oh yeah.
that herding dogs, big dogs,
Mm-hmm.
that shepherds, they don't even feed in them, and that dogs living with those people, serving them. Um, how to say it? How to say it in English? They making wolves go away.
Yeah.
How to say?
Um,
Um,
they protect.
protect from wolves, and they protect sheep and people. And those people don't even feed in them. They finding food on their own. So it's not about things that, let's say, society telling us that our dogs need. It's again, it's natural and it's something uh, that nature,
Yeah.
uh, how to say,
It's what nature intended.
made them,
Yeah.
yeah, intended to be like, yeah, Brandon says a lot.
Brandon says that all the time. Nature had a plan for your animal before you got involved.
Yeah,
And we have to accept that. If your dog is a little bit skittish, if your dog is a little bit bold, I mean, these are all things that your dog came with. And that's why it's really important to be honest when you get a dog or choosing a dog or have your dog already. Who are they? Because
yeah,
that really affects on what you do. I mean, I have certain friends that I do certain activities with, and I have certain friends that I do other activities with, and expecting my one friend this person to do the same things that I do with you is just not fair. That's having an expectation. They don't want to talk about dogs. They don't want to go take pictures or whatever it is. I mean, and that's just such a huge piece because I mean, not only the monetizable part of this, but it's also pokes what most people are struggling with in our life as a society. Like in that Gabor Mate talk with in that podcast, when we were talking about keeping society broken is how we get these people in power. People that are narcissists and can send people into war and making these horrendous choices that how are you able to do that? But we as a society put these people in power that already have these, that have these bigger problems. So they're able to capitalize even more on these animals that make us feel a certain way, which is never about them. It's just more about us. I worked all day, so I need to do this, or and it's so it's they're monetizing in so many different ways that aren't natural to dogs. I mean, I see this all the time. Besides dog food and the vet, I can't think of one other thing I would spend money on my dogs. I like we go and the thing that I always get into a pickle with people is like, well, my dog has a behavior problem. So like I'll take my dogs to the beach, right? I take my dogs to the dog beach and they're like, well, I can't do that. So that's why I do take them to the park and play frisbee. Well, do you want to take them to the beach? Yeah. So then there you go. You have to work on that, but you have to be willing to give up that. And that's the hard part for people, is putting themselves in that uncomfortable situation.
And this is where I want to add something. Like I will. Oh, do you hear me?
I do.
Because Skype telling me that this is bad connection.
No, you're good.
Okay. Uh, I will say it the way it is. Uh, so many things that we love to do with our dogs. It's only about us, and if we're going to figure out that things because we want to help our dogs, it will automatically force us to dig in our own, how to say, psychological stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's not about dogs at all. So, and this is how it is. It's not uncomfortable because, like, if somebody will listen to us and it can seems like sarcasm, like we talking shit about people. No, it's just truth, and it's not uncomfortable.
I mean, I've been there. I see it all the time when you ask people to do something that they don't want to do, and for most people, it's fear.
It's like once we talk on a phone, and you said that people are asking us to come and solve their problem. They're not asking us to come and talk about them
Yeah,
and their addictions towards the animal, not healthy relationships with the animal. They didn't expect to hear that. They just ask us to make something with the animal or to tell what they should do with the animal.
yeah. They want their
It's
problem.
like, and this is where dog training, uh, how to say, it's easy to believe, to try to believe in dog training because this is very easy. Do this, that, and this. By that color, do this command, that command, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Teresa,
about this at all.
yeah, Teresa made a really good point. I think we don't understand dogs because we don't understand ourselves. Many
Yeah,
people are living unconscious lives and they're not present with their dogs. Dogs live in the truth all the time. Humans don't. And
absolutely.
and that's
Thank you, Teresa.
yeah. Thank you, Teresa, for saying that. It was very kind and wise. And that's the huge piece of it. I'm in for my nonprofit. I'm in this mastermind, and one of the things this one woman was talking about was going to meetups and meeting new people, and she was saying like her business is struggling because of that. So she had to make a conscious choice to put herself in an uncomfortable situation, which is to go talk to strangers. And when she was there, she felt it, she knew what was happening, but she was conscious about it instead of unconsciously just making a choice not to go, making excuses, whatever the normal pattern is. And it just always goes back to one of my favorite sayings, which is the ancestor to every action is a thought. What we think is what we do. It's not the opposite way around. We're not doing something and then all of a sudden it changes the way we think. We have a thought, we grab the refrigerator. We have a thought. We get angry at somebody. It's not. Sometimes it's conscious. Sometimes it's not. But it's the story we're playing in our mind. And when we can separate, when we can admit that we're not our mind, because our mind is nothing. We can't own our mind. It's just an accumulation of experiences. So if we can detach from all of those experiences and just start to live freer in the moments, then it produces so much more possibility. Fear doesn't seem so, because I'm not judging it based on something else, a past experience. But so one of the things, because I want to make sure it's my job to keep us on task, which I hate because I just want to talk. So one of the things that you said something to me the other day. You were talking about Yasan. Does he call himself a biologist, or is it a neuroscientist?
No. He's biologist, scientist, PhD, I guess in
Yeah.
English.
Okay. A
He's
doctor.
a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, you had said this thing to me, and I really liked it. You were talking about his experience of dominance, and we were talking about how we as humans, you know where I'm going with this, right? We were just talking
Yeah.
about, yeah. Let me
Yeah.
just say it. Talk about what you guys were talked about, and
I
then
asked him, so what dominance is, and he answered very, like it was like a bullet. So in general, dominance is imposing one's will on another,
mm-hmm.
but not in a terms of being violent or how to say,
It's not a physical act.
not physical.
Like, yes, it's not
It's not a
angry.
violence. It's
Yeah.
not a violence. It's just
Brandon says it's a strength of character. It's a strength
yes,
of personality.
and this is how one person can hold attention of big, how to say, stadium. Yeah,
Absolutely.
like one speaker. If he have that, people listen to him,
Yeah.
and he's being dominant in that moment
Yeah.
towards those people. It's
Yeah.
some kind of these things, but also it's like this is what you actually showed. I guess it was in a previous show where Jake
I have the video.
came into the room and made everybody sink.
Mm-hmm.
So what he actually did, he imposed his will on Kita and Lily,
Yeah.
and it was not violence. And that those dogs, they live together, they have relationships, they feel cool. They share places, like space, not places. They
Mm-hmm.
can travel in your van together as a team. They having fun. So it's not about being. It's not about being, how to say. I don't know bad words in English. Not behaving in a bad way towards somebody.
Well, I think the thing that makes it interesting is it's accepted, right? It's not.
What?
It's accept.
Acceptance?
It's accepted by everybody. So when he did that, nobody
Uh huh.
protested, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I had read online, and it goes with humans too. Two individuals in a relationship establish dominance with each other, so that every time there's a disagreement arises, there's no need for fighting or negotiation.
Of course.
And animals don't want to fight because that they get hurt. And so if the social, they're talking about in some of these articles I was reading, which were some were good and some were kind of interesting to think about. But it goes back to what we're talking about with understanding our dogs. Having an expectation of a friend, not understanding that they live in hierarchy. So there,
And now, interesting thing that we also live in hierarchy
absolutely.
everywhere. Why? Because yeah, there is a lot of information on internet and everywhere that dominance hierarchy is something bad. And one of conclusions that that I how to say get to this week when we had conversation with my wife, that dogs, they acquired, how to say, from animals. They can be very physical with each other. They can make harm, really, even kill. Yeah,
Yep.
they have teeth for this and body. And if it was no hierarchy, they will actually kill each other.
Yeah.
So hierarchy is like uh, everybody. It's for making everybody chill out and peace, making peace around and understanding,
Yeah.
and taking away the stress, because relationships developed and everybody know where they fit in without not regretting about it.
Yeah.
I am here and I feel so bad. No, I'm just here. That's all.
And what we kind of wanted to end with, which was, I can't find it right here. You had said something with, oh, imposing our, oh, so you,
Will.
yeah, are imposing our will on the dogs without that dominance part of it. So when we,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Let me.
so
Or you want to add something?
go, no, go.
Yeah. So living with us is actually, how to say it in English. When we uh, choosing a dog and coming to take him, no matter is that puppy or dog in a shelter or anywhere else. I mean, not puppies, dogs who already have like some age. Uh, in the first second when we taking that dog, we imposing our will on them.
Yep.
They didn't ask us to take them, especially like as I see it. If puppies had if puppies had ability to talk, they will take. Oh, go away, leave me here. I won't hang out with my mother and my brothers and sisters, and I need to learn how to be a dog. My nervous system still developing.
Yes.
Don't take me so early.
Yeah.
I don't want to be neurotic in the future.
Yep.
Like, leave me alone. And by the way, I don't want to pee and poop in the morning and in the night. I just want to do it
Whenever
naturally
I
and
feel like
things like
it.
that. Yeah, and I don't want to have that rope. Which one I'm talking about, leashes. So yeah, it's always imposing our will, but like everything that dog will be doing predisposed by us, and so many things unnatural to the dog at all.
Yeah. To us, it seems
And
so common. It seems so natural. It seems so easy.
what?
From our perspective, it seems so natural
Oh
and
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah. Because we already like having that ideas that dog and the leash, it's like something,
they should know.
how to say, not normal, but
It's
you
something they
you
should know
yeah,
it
they
already.
should know, and something that like they born with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and no matter how we mm, how to say uh, no matter which way we choose, anyway we imposing our will on a dog. And there is only two ways. One way, we developing hierarchy with the dogs, and it's mostly about our behavior, how I as a human should behave to make that dog see and believe that I'm the one who he can rely on, follow, listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how hierarchy develops. And again, we becoming uh, dominant member, yeah, alpha. Let's say alpha member, yeah. And this is where imposing our will on the dog will not cause the stress, because on the leash that dog will be following you, not that piece of rope which is holding the dog, which also imposing the will. So if we going to the direction where we're trying to understand the dog from the nature point of view, from the dog side, then everything will be okay with the dog, yeah, and everything will be nice.
That was not planned. That is beautiful. So yeah,
and and if we are not doing this, the dog will be living in constant conflict with you, because I want to pee here and you want me to go there and you're pulling me. I want to go with you and you leaving me in that flat or crate.
mm-hmm.
I want to see that dog and you're not letting me, and I'm becoming frustrated. They should um, listen to us because they not should. We should make them listen to us because they accept us. And if they not accept us, that means that we having a dog for that reasons that we talked
Yeah.
earlier today. Only for fun.
Yeah.
Only for fulfilling our needs.
My
And we live in that illusion. We think that dogs are okay, they happy, they having beautiful life, but they are not.
yeah. Allison said hierarchy for the purpose of cooperation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, it's even taking your dog for a basic walk is not natural. They don't just run
Yes.
around in everybody's territory, pissing on everybody's corner. You know, your dog's outside. You got a stranger walking by. I mean, one of the things we talked about last week was reaching at dogs. One of the things we talk a lot about when we you don't have dog parks, but here at dog parks is when people stand still, it makes territory. And there's all of these things that happen in a dog's mind in nature that they came with before we got involved that we have to understand. Because if we don't understand it, we just try to change the behavior, but the changing behavior doesn't solve emotions. You know, when I walked around as a kid because I had energy, asking me to sit down didn't change the way I felt. It actually made me more frustrated because I wasn't identifying. You're trying to use behavior to change behavior, and that doesn't work. It's been proven, and there's an article in Psychology Today about that. Gabor Mate had a talk about that. Behavior to change behavior does not work, whether it's positive or negative reinforcement. So really stepping back and thinking like how unnatural. I mean, we were joking about it yesterday when we were saying like, imagine if you took me for a walk and I'm like want to go smell something or do something and I can't figure out why. Why does he keep doing that? All I want to do is smell this. It's just not natural. And when I watch the loose dogs around LA, the freedom they feel to be able to stay on a smell for 10 seconds if they want and then run off at the speed that they want, or stay there for a minute, pee on it, smell it again, pee on it, smell on it again, and then run off, or walk, or it's all driven by their choices. And I think that's scary for people because they're scared what their dog is going to choose. But ultimately, that comes down to relationship. Like we always joke in my house that like my wife's a writer, so she meets famous people and stuff. So we joke about, like, oh, if you met that person, I'd be out the door, like whoever that, famous man is, actor, leading actor, whatever. But that's only if our relationship isn't really well understood. I'm going to have those panics. Where is she? What's going on? If I am doing the best I can to fulfill my wife emotionally and be there the way she needs it, then I don't have to worry about those things. That's when I'm. Do my dogs surprise me sometimes? Of course, but I take the time to understand them so well that usually I can predict what's going to happen or something we need to work on because I'm taking the accountability first to understand them versus them trying to figure out me so that they can just get what they want. Hierarchically, I always struggle with that word, hierarchically. Do you have anything to add to that? We're talking about.
It's like if we'll go to jungle and we'll try to live there right now, everything be not the way we, how to say, used to.
Yeah.
Even if we will be with people who live in there, that old-fashioned type of living, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that Amazon River and people still living there, yeah.
Yeah.
The way they lived 10,000 years,
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
So if we will go there and we'll try to feed that, everything will be uncomfortable, and we should know how to live there. So, but dogs don't have that ability to understand why we having that leash on them. They and this is Brandon Foucher saying dogs only say it. Dogs only
Oh, why we have problems
can.
is dogs can only think like dogs, and people expect dogs to understand what we want. So we put
Yes,
the leash on and we expect them to understand it right away. When a dog is like, this is everything that is not normal to me to be able. Yeah, and so just two real quick things. One is it's not my saying, it's Brandon's actually, Alicia, but he always talks about we have to raise werewolves. We have to raise half dogs, half humans, because dogs are forced and penalized to live in a human world. So we have to take accountability for what we're teaching them because they're the ones that pay the price for it. And then Allison also said, I'm afraid to give my pack the freedom. It's all about fear and liability. Yes. And the thing that's great about fear is it's overcomable if we just are honest about what it is. For example, we talked about muzzles last time. So most people will stop their dog from biting somebody by doing something before it happens. Yet they won't put a muzzle on to actually go do what they actually need to do. So I always tell my clients, well, what are you fearful of? And they'll say X, Y, and Z. Perfect. So if we remove that, then we actually can go forward. Yes. For example, you're scared of your dog biting somebody. We put a muzzle on. Now your dog cannot bite somebody. Are you still okay taking your dog to the dog park? No. So then it's really not about you having your dog bite somebody. It's really about you not wanting to be fearful. And that's not something I can help with because I can take every fear that you have away and empower you to then do it. But with all these little tips and tricks, have a long leash on, have a muzzle, have something like this, be able to be doing that, but you still have to do it. You could put a parachute on and still stand at the top of the plane and still not be able to do it. I can take all of your fears away, but you still have to take the jump. And that's what I learned from Brandon was fear should motivate us. We just have to be honest about what's making us fearful. And if we remove those things, then there's no problem anymore. Okay, so the dog's getting a fight. Who cares? They both have muzzles on. But at least we got to go through it and see what's actually going to happen. I mean, that's something, a lot of, my clients that have dogs that bite people, so you can put a muzzle on, there's no problem anymore. Now we have to do what the actual work is. So, hierarchy is a system in nature created for survival purposes, definitely. And which is funny, Teresa, because you and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. It's also why our senses are built. Everything we experience in our life is external, right? See, everything we're getting information-wise that goes into our mind is external. That's all for survival. The problem is it also then gets into our stories as humans. it muddies the waters a little bit. So yeah, it's it's always
It's like if we will take away relation of or not relationships. If we will take away electricity, how to say, for a long period of time, then we will turn back to survival again.
oh yeah.
We will be fighting for the food, water, shelter, because I guess money will not have any sense,
It's
and
amazing
then we
how
will,
much then at that moment a full belly will be enough.
yeah, and having place where you can feel safe. And this is where actually one of the things that we should think about. We're not so different in general
No.
because we are also animals with a lot of same needs. Right now we think we are different, but we are not in general. Yeah, and from why this is why that people from Tajikistan, they don't have education. Most of them,
Mm-hmm.
they like finished maybe 1, 2, 3 classes in a school and started herding the sheep, but they can uh, handle pack of huge, powerful dogs, which one can kill wolf.
Yeah, but like and this kind of what you're.
Nature component,
Yeah,
they're in the same level.
yeah, which is interesting, like what you're saying that we're not so different. But this is the part that I always get frustrated with humans is they try to elevate dogs to humans as if it's a better thing. I love my dog like he's
Oh
my,
yeah, oh yeah,
I
oh
love
yeah,
my dog
yeah,
like
yeah,
he's my kid, my
yeah.
son, my daughter, a family member. Why does taking a dog's identity away and making him something he's not mean you love him more? And that's a great place to start for people is to say, you know, why am I trying to elevate them to something they're not when they're happy themselves just being themselves. There is no
Hmm.
dog out there in the world saying, I want to be the best dog in the world today.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best one. That's only humans. And we're I think of all the animals out there, we're probably the least happy because we always have these other things. So, all right, I know it's getting late for you. Is there anything you want to add?
You want to finish? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, 1 hour.
yeah. What do you think? Anything else you want to add?
Let's summarize somehow. Yeah.
Go for it.
Um, I guess if there is people who struggling with behavioral problems with the dog, they really should think on that question. So why I really have that dog? What role that dog playing in my life? And another question, what that dog really needs. And this is where I will tell what they need: food, shelter. They need to how to say to be healthy. They need hierarchy. They need physical, mental activities. They need to see and to communicate with other dogs. They need to have off leash time because no matter what length of the leash we have, it's still restriction. Yeah, and and they need mate, but this is whole another topic.
Yeah, for me, I'd say I just wrote it in the comments. Respect what is not natural for the dogs. Wait, just because we think it's natural, like Brandon says this all the time, with like puppy classes or like beginner obedience classes. are way, way complicated for dogs. We're expecting them to do these activities that we think are simple. But to put a dog next to another dog in a sit stay that they don't know, confine them mentally and physically, take all their choices away, is very complicated.
And by the way, puppies controlling their impulses very bad.
Yeah.
And that can cause, boom, a lot of
later on.
explosive stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to talk a little bit more, too, about one of the things Yasan talks a lot about is, how the stages of development neurologically set the dog's impulses for the rest of their life. When they're not able to explore, we're not going to talk about it today, but we talk about it's in his book when he's talking about the wolves being able to do things as they get older. They're able to then hold themselves back more because they didn't have to do it earlier. Their neurological system developed completely. So man. If anybody has any questions or comments, as always, drop them in here. This will be on.
Also want to add something.
Go, man. I love when you add these things.
Just try to understand your friend if you calling your dog your friend. Just try to understand who he is, what he really needs,
and accept it.
And accept it, and what can you do for him. And then the most interesting thing that we starting from emotion, from those things that I mentioned, we are excited, emotional about the dog, and that leading to many things which have physical component, like with petting our dogs, all of that stuff that we covered in previous conversation. And with some dogs, I will say with many, but especially with some dogs, it leading to losing everything, not controlling the animal, having big problems in behavior, and not sometimes in losing ability to touch to your dog because he's disciplining you, like, get away. So if we rushing to have all of this, and it's only about us, dogs, not it's only we want to pet them, they didn't ask us, then we can lose everything. And if we will try to understand our friends, and that requires to do things what they really need, and only then to do things that we want to, then we can have both. We can have dog who behave well, dog who emotionally balanced, dog who listen, and dog who really enjoy when you're touching him, because you know when and why you can do this.
That's such a powerful piece, because if you do those things, your dog is the one that suffers because they have to be in a crate when people come over. You can only walk them at certain times. Ultimately their life gets smaller.
Yes.
And for a lot of times your life gets smaller too, because you have to walk your dog at 2 a.m. when nobody's around, and that kind of thing. And it loses the whole purpose of why we get dogs, to add them to our lives and enjoy them. So yeah, I mean, they're the ones that are stuck at home. You can be suffering with your problem and then still go out to breakfast with your friends. Your dog is still the one that's going to suffer. So be a good friend. I think that's a good way to end it.
Yeah, and try to figure out why your relationship's toxic. Yeah. Because non-toxic relationship mostly balanced.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for staying up. Teresa said, winner, chicken dinner. I love this name. Maxim? Maksym? Maxim. I like that. Guys, thanks for what you're doing. Well, thank you, man. And to me, it always...
You're welcome.
I can't tell you how much, for me, this has nothing to do with me. Like, I want people to be able to have the life that they set out initially to have with their dogs. It's just so much crap out there that is confusing. You know, I had a client the other day, she sent me this whole article about something she Googled. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, it's just, and then you go on the person's website and it's just like, and it wasn't even a dog professional. It was a blogger or something. I mean, that's my goal, is from 11 years of weeding through all of the things that are out there, just to try to set people, to get them thinking differently, to just start down a path that I've experienced, I know you have experienced, brings more joy to people's lives and makes it less stressful. I mean, when you don't,
Yeah, I actually wrote that dominance reduce stress.
yeah, yeah. When I walk down the street and my dog knows how to behave just because of my presence,
Yeah,
that makes me feel more comfortable, which ultimately makes them feel more comfortable, which ultimately means they're included in more things in my life. When I don't have to worry
yes,
about them doing something because they're worried about me doing something, then I don't have
yeah,
to. I don't have any problems. I can walk down
yeah.
the street, and if I do, something does come up, because some things do come up, man. I had a situation the other day. There was a sneaky dog. I never met that dog before in my life. Walking down, came flying out, cornered me and this dog, Kita. Come here. Come here.
Uh-huh.
Say hi to Uncle Artem. You see your nose? She can't, but scared the crap out of both of us. And instead of Kita doing what she normally does, which is go away, that's why I walk her on a long leash, she actually went forward and was trapped because I got shook too. But I was able to just turn and make one simple, which is in my house, A. I just say A, and her feet did what they're supposed to do, which is go away. So even when we have a problem, that solid relationship of understanding. I didn't get angry at her. I know what it is, her nervous system, the leash being trapped, but she still made a poor choice. And that's all I had to do is explain to her what to do. So it's freeing to be able to know that you can.
Maybe even reacted. Yeah,
Exactly.
not something that not she intended to do.
Not at
She
all.
reacted.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why you get Malinois. Malinois have extremely reactive nervous systems, which makes them fun to train. They're super.
Yeah, and
She's a nightmare to
this
live
is why
with.
and this is why this is not a problem if that dog know what you don't like. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So goes back to, being very clear with what you don't like. And, Brandon always says most dogs know what we like. It's what we don't like
Yeah.
that is the problem. So if your
Yeah.
dog knows that you like them, and it goes, we could go through the list from last week. If your dog, I'm going to just do a
Yeah.
real quick recap. If your dog knows that you love affection, if your dog loves that they know that they're higher than you in the hierarchy, if they know they love you in your personal space, if they know that you're going to reach at them, if they know that how to create, that's what you're going to get. So understanding that dogs really need to know what you don't like is what makes them really happy, because then they can do so many more things. Like go to the
Yeah.
dog beach, go hiking. I mean, I see you take Camille all the time to the park. But, all right, my
Yeah.
man. You have a wonderful evening. This will be on YouTube shortly if anybody wants to view it there, and it will be living here. Thank you so much for your time, Artem.
You too.
I will be talking with you soon, bud. Everybody, thank you very
Yeah.
much for showing
Thank
up.
you, everybody. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.